Hello everyone, today is 13th of September and I welcome you all to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, in the today's video we are going to discuss the entire analysis of Hindu. We'll take all the articles along with the background as well as way forward. And I would also like to tell you that you can download the explainer notes of this particular session from the Telegram channel. Link for Telegram is given in description box in YouTube. Now, first of all, let's take overview of entire newspaper so that we can understand at which articles are important in the today's newspaper. And here we have the Delhi edition of Hindu newspaper. So first article, the first article here, we see NEPA breaks out again in Kerala. So guys, in the past also we have seen that the NEPA virus havoc has been there in Kerala. So guys, when we talk about the NEPA virus, okay, so basically two cases of the virus transmitted from bats, pigs, etc. have been seen here. Moving on guys in this particular direction, okay, after that retail inflation eases, okay, then we have these advertisements. However, guys, nothing much important is there to follow on the first page as well as in the city section, because largely we have the regional issues here. Then we have these advertisements, etc. So nothing much there is there in the regional section. So directly, guys, we'll be moving on and we'll reach to editorial page, because before that, largely these tenders, advertisements, etc. are there. So on editorial section, as we reach, first article is drop the bad idea of simultaneous election. So guys, on simultaneous elections there have been so many articles that have got published in past few days. We'll take, there is some points are there which are important. Then investigating agencies must avoid being drawn into political contention. Okay guys, the article is politically inclined. I will not advise you to go too much in detail. Then after that, spotlighting another border point, the rogue channel. We'll take this particular article. There are some mapping entries which are important. We'll take it up. Then here we have article which talks about the Supreme Court judgment with respect to the CBI prior approval. We'll take this particular article also. Then further moving on next page, the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita needs a relook. Okay. So guys, recently what has happened? Government has introduced three bills in Parliament which will replace Indian Penal Code, Criminal Procedure Code, and Indian Evidence Act. So Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita bill is going to replace the Indian Penal Code. And on this particular thing, I think at least 8 9 articles we have seen since these particular bills were introduced. But I will not advise you to go too much in detail in this particular article or such articles. Why? Because right now bill has been introduced. This bill has been referred to the select committee in Parliament. Then that Parliament will be suggesting some amendments. Then that bill will come in Parliament. Okay, and then there will be debates, discussion, amendments that will happen in Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. Then final act will be passed. So there will be a lot of changes that will come. So basically provision by provision analysis that is being done, that might not be relevant in the future. And secondly, UPSC doesn't ask, UPSC doesn't goes and ask the questions on specific sections of a particular law. So no need to go too much there. Then guys, after that, moving on, analyzing where India stands in the G20. So here basically just it is a comparative charts that have been given. Okay, GDP per capita of the different countries, human development index of the different countries. So if you want, just you can see what is the prospective positions of the different countries. Conceptual aspect is not there in this article. Then coming to text and context, climate phenomena and food security, we'll take this particular article. Then after that, how fraternity in India is different, we'll take this particular article also. Then guys, further moving on, one Jawan militant killed, three injured in Rajouri encounter. So there was an crossfire with the with the terrorists that happened, and misfortunately our Jawans, security personals, they have become martyrs in this incident. Of a One of a female Labrador, fine, which is an army dog unit from the army dog unit, has also got martyred in this. Then further moving on, after that, we don't have much of relevant articles for the exam India to take a call on assembly polls. So talking about the alliance, opposition alliance. Okay, uh, here we have one article, G7 saved G20 by agreeing to declaration, German envoy. So guys, when you are seeing this photo, you might be wondering that why German chancellor has worn an eye patch. Okay, So why he has worn an eye patch? So was also interested in knowing this thing when I saw the photograph of German Chancellor wearing eye patch for the first time in the G20. So he fell, and this is the reason he is wearing that. Just for curiosity, I'm telling you, not important for exam. Okay, not at all important for exam. Farmers are annadatas, protect their rights and future, says president. Okay. Then further moving on, guys, in this particular direction, July industrial output rises by 5.7%. No need to follow industrial output, export import performance, issue position of the current account deficit every month. Okay. Say bye to diesel, Gadkari warns of higher taxes. Okay. Then, guys, further moving on in this particular direction, we have the world page. Here we have one article. North Korea arrives in Russia to meet with Putin. So we have seen this particular thing in the past also, that North Korea, there is a possibility of North Korea supplying weaponaries to Russia, and in this capacity, Kim Jong Un has arrived here. Then India urges Sri Lankan government to keep its promise on Tamil issue. We'll take this particular article, and then, guys, we have the sports page. So this is about the overview of newspaper. Now let's take all the relevant articles one by one in the detail. So as I told you, you can download these synoptic notes from our Telegram channel. So in the synoptic notes, we take a GS quotation every day, which can be used in our answers of one GS 1, 2, 3, and 4, or can be used in the essay. So today we'll take quotation from Muther A. Kent. So he says that we need the three W's. We need three W's. What are these three W? Women. So first focus needs to be on women empowerment. First focus is needed to give political, economic, and social equality to women. Second is water. And in fact, it has been said that if there will be the third world war, that might be fought on water. Okay. And then third is well-being. That is the health. That is health. Because we have seen this thing that 2020 pandemic of COVID, it became an existential crisis. And WHO has repeated this particular thing that there might be the future pandemics that might arrive. Okay, as we talk about right now, the duration between the two pandemics stands to be around 100 years. For example, 2020 COVID was there, 1920 Spanish influenza was there, but now they're saying that this duration can be reduced. Okay, so therefore, women, water, and well-being, these three are the most important priorities for the governments right now and should be focused upon. Then moving on, and let's take first article for today. So first article here, we have this no filter. Now, what this article is all about, but by the way, guys, we have discussed this issue yesterday also, it came in newspaper. So this particular article we are going to see with respect to polity, and governance, as well as polity and governance GS paper number 2, and the issues related to institutions. Okay, institutional reforms, we can take this particular article. Which institution are we going to talk about in this? CBI. Okay. So now, first of all, let me give you some basic background information, though we have discussed it yesterday also. So basic background information is this, guys, that when we talk about the CBI, CBI is the central body. CBI is a basically it is an institution which is responsible for carrying up the investigation in the matters of corruption. Specific cases that are referred to the CBI, it can also take that particular kind of a cases. Now, when we talk about, guys, a CBI, there was one particular provision of CBI that was contested as unconstitutional. Which provision? Provision section 6A, and this particular article is talking about the section 6A only. Okay, just a minute. Okay, now, guys, as we talk about the CBI, I was telling you this is the body which is responsible for investigating the matters of corruption as well as the specific cases which are referred to it by the central government. It can take up, also it can take up the cases which are referred to it by the state government. Now, when we talk about the CBI, presently CBI's legal framework, it comes from the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act 2003. Delhi Special Police Establishment Act 2003. CBI as a body is headed by a director who will be typically an IPS officer at the rank of Director General of Police, DGP. Now, guys, when we talk about the CBI, there is one particular provision within under the CBI which has been controversial from long time, and this provision was earlier called as the single directive provision. Single directive provision. Now, what is the single directive provision? Single directive provision provides this particular thing, that any investigation that is being taken up by CBI, suppose there was the case of corruption, and if any investigation is to be taken by the CBI, then there are certain set of instructions that are to be followed by CBI. And it also includes one instruction that above a particular level of officers, against them if investigation is being taken up, then prior permission, prior approval, prior sanction has to be taken up. Now, this provision was controversial from a long time. Now, guys, understand this particular thing, that right now I told you that the CBI is governed by Delhi Special Police Establishment Act 2003, but it doesn't mean that CBI has been made in 2003. CBI as an institution was enacted in 1941. Okay. However, the new legal framework was given in 2003. So CBI was existing earlier also. Now, so this single directive was a problematic provision where prior approval has to be taken up before you investigate the case against an officer. Now, this particular single directive, it was basically there was a judgment that was given by Supreme Court in 1997, that is Vineet Narayan judgment of 1997. And in this judgment, Supreme Court struck down this single directive and said this particular thing, that any investigation cannot be impeded by administrative instruction. So you are saying that permission has to be taken up. In a way, you are just creating an administrative obstacle, fine, which is not justified. So therefore, single directive was ruled in 1997. Now, guys, what actually happened? Government, in order to revive that particular thing, what happened? It enacted 6 years later in 2003. It provided Section 6A in the DSPE Act, Delhi Special Police Establishment Act. It added the Section 6A. Now, what this particular Section 6A provided? Section 6A provided that any investigation into corruption charges against the official of the rank of Joint Secretary and above, fine, if there is a corruption charges on any officers above the rank of Joint Secretary, and if you want to investigate, then it can only be done after central government gives approval. Only after central government gives approval. Now, this particular provision came. When it came in 2003. Now, guys, what happened then in 2014? In 2014, Supreme Court gave, in 2014, what happened? Supreme Court gave a ruling. Just a minute. Yes. So in 2014, Supreme Court gave a ruling. Okay, it was Subramaniam Swamy case. And in this particular ruling, what Supreme Court said? Supreme Court struck it down. Supreme Court in 2014 struck down this particular section, that is Section 6A. Supreme Court said that the battle against corruption is the most important one, and this again has created an unnecessary obstacle. It struck down this Section 6A in 2014. But now the point comes that what about the cases which got started between 2003 to 2014? What about these particular matters? So I told you DSPE came in existence since 2003. Many investigation, many charges were imposed on officers between this particular year. So what actually happened? That Subramaniam Swamy case, it did not talk that whether there will be the retrospective effect or not. Now what has happened? Just 2 days back, 2023, Supreme Court has given one more ruling in continuation of this Section 6A. And Supreme Court now provide this particular thing, that this particular ruling will be applicable prior to 2004 also. So it says that it will also have the retrospective application. It will have the retrospective application. Means the cases that have got started between 2003 to 2014, if there no prior approval was taken and investigation is going on, then that investigation can continue. Basically, guys, in the past, what has happened, officers, they have went to the court and said this thing, that the investigation by CBI is not correct because prior approval was not taken. Okay, so now Supreme Court has applied that this 2014 judgment will be applied from 2003 onwards. Now, a point comes that does it change anything on the ground? Will anything on the ground be changed by this particular thing? Okay, so understand this particular thing, guys. No, much will not be changed on ground because of this particular thing. Why? Because in 2018, what happened? Government amended the Prevention of Corruption Act 1988, and by amending this Prevention of Corruption Act 1988 in 2018, government has added Section 17A. And this Section 17A provide this particular thing, that government's previous approval is a mandatory requirement before a probe can begin in the recommendations made by a public servant. So if public servant made some recommendation, took some decision, and if that particular decision is now being investigated, you cannot do investigation before you don't take a approval. So again, that prior sanction, prior approval got added here. So my point is that, so my point is that so my point is that right now, only the cases between 2003 to 2014, they will be impacted by this Supreme Court judgment. Post 2014, what things have come, particularly post 2018, nothing is going to change on the ground. Now, guys, you need to understand that there are the two different sides of this particular issue. There are the two different sides of this particular issue. On one side, we need to bring a crackdown on corruption, and for that particular thing, all the civil servants who are basically, if there is a semblance of some compromise, there should be investigation that should happen, and no obstruction such as asking the previous sanction, such obstruction should not be imposed. But guys, understand this particular thing, that actually we need to protect the civil servants also. Why we need to protect them? Because many number of times the civil servants, they take certain decisions which are unpopular, which might be questioned later, that you did it under the vested interest. But it is not the case that all the time civil servants are taking all the decisions under vested interest. Sometimes they might have taken a decision under a bona fide intention, but it might be perceived as that there was some vested interest. So we need to protect the civil servants also. And for such kind of a thing, there was this particular section 17A that got added. Okay. Moving on to the next article, climate phenomena and food security. So we'll take this particular article with respect to GS paper number 3. GS paper number 3, climate change and food security. So basically, guys, the article is talking about that there are so many disruptive weather phenomena, climate phenomena that have emerged, which are posing challenges to food security, which are posing challenges to human security. And largely these challenges are because of the environmental climatic change that are there. First of all, let's see that what are such incidents that have happened in this particular year. Now, starting on, guys, first of all is the western disturbances. First of all are the western disturbances. So basically, guys, when we talk about western disturbances, so basically these are a particular patterns of the wind system which come from the sides of the west. Therefore they are called as the western disturbances. Usually they carry the moistures from the region of Caspian Sea, Black Sea, and that moisture is carried in Indian subcontinent in the winter season. And when these western disturbances collide with the Himalayas, they shed moisture in the Indian subcontinent. And the winter rain, which is very much important for the rabi crops, which are very much important for the crops such as wheat, they are there because of the western disturbances which bring the water. So they bring water in the season, in the winter seasons. But what has happened this particular year, western disturbances, they had made a landfall. Usually they come around winter and spring, but this year they have made a landfall during the summer, and they have collided with the monsoons. And because of that particular thing, exceptionally high unanticipated rainfall has happened in Himalayan region. And because of that particular thing, a lot of landslides have happened, flooding has happened in Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand. There is a lot of a destruction of infrastructure, life that has happened. So here we see this particular thing, that how the climatic patterns fine are impacting the how they are how they are leading to disasters. Then guys, the next development that comes here is that El Nino phase is intensifying. Now what is El Nino phase? So basically guys, we I have discussed El Nino many number of a times in our video, but let me give you again a brief idea. So basically guys, what is El Nino? El Nino, El Nino is a natural phenomenon. El Nino is a natural phenomena which is characterized by intense heating of the Pacific around the Peru coast. Because of that particular thing, what happens? Because of that particular thing, what happens? The rainfall patterns in the Southeast Asia, monsoons, they get impacted. Okay. Now, because of the El Nino year, monsoons get impacted, and as the monsoons get impacted, it will have certain implications on the sowing in India. Because when we talk about India, guys, as of today, 50 to 60%, there are different estimates that are there. So 50 to 60% of agriculture in India, it is a rain-fed agriculture. Rain-fed agriculture means it depends on monsoons, it depends on rain. Now, if El Nino year will come and monsoon will be impacted, obviously agriculture in India will be impacted hugely. And if agriculture will be impacted hugely, what will happen? Food security of India will get compromised. Now, basically, you know this thing that agriculture, it needs a lot of water. There are two types of water that is there. One is green water and other is blue water. Green water and other is blue water. What is green water? Fine. Now, the color of water is not different, but see, the water that is falling through or falling from the water that is being received through the rainfall, which recharges groundwater, and the same water which is being used in agriculture but coming from rain, we call that water is green water. Now what is blue water? Blue water is the water that is contained in rivers, lakes, reservoirs, and this particular water is diverted through canals. This particular water is diverted through irrigation channels, and by this water also the farmers are ensuring their agricultural crops. Now, when we talk about irrigation, right now, all the fields in India, they don't have irrigation facility. Around 40 to 45% fields in India, they are covered under irrigation channels. So largely today, the fields that we have, they depend on green water. Okay, green water is a rainfall water and it depends on monsoon. And monsoon are getting impacted because of the El Nino. Okay, so you need to understand this particular thing. Now, El Nino, fine, it impacts agriculture. It delays the start of rains, which affects the sowing period. Also, because if there will be the delay in the rainfalls, what will happen? Hot temperature will further be impacting the soil moisture, plant growth. So it leads to a double whammy. It leads to a double impact on agriculture. Okay, then further moving on, guys, in this particular direction. So it has been provided that actually, even in irrigated areas, you cannot say that where the areas are irrigated, we don't need any rainfall. Even there, rainfall is needed. For example, when we talk about paddy crop, when we talk about the paddy, it needs a lot of water. Even after complementing it with the rain fed, irrigation water is needed. So there, both irrigation as well as the green water as well as blue water is needed here. Then guys, further moving on in this particular capacity. Now, if monsoon will be weak, why monsoon are getting weak? Because of El Nino. If monsoon will be weak, we find this particular thing that the blue water stock. Now see, if monsoon are weak, we need to depend on the blue water. That is the water in our reservoirs. And the amount of blue water that we have in our reservoirs, it will determine that what will be the productivity in the Rabi season. Now see this particular thing, that even these blue water reservoirs, lakes, dams, etc., they get recharged by the rainfall. So if rainfall are not good, even this blue water stock will not be good. And if blue water stock will not be good, even the Rabi crops will be impacted. The Rabi crops are those which are sown in winter. Okay. So this is something that is happening. Now, guys, I told you in the start that western disturbances play a very important role as they bring moisture in the seasons of winter. Now, understand this particular thing, guys. As I told you, this particular year, western disturbances have even come in summer. So, summer already monsoons were there, western disturbances have also come. So, how the western disturbances will be unfolding in winter seasons? It is also something which is very much uncertain, So, basically, around the world, to envisage that what will be the rainfalls, whether the rainfalls will be average, below average, above average. There are the climate models that are prepared, but these climate models often have failed to provide the real conditions, real advisories. So we need to work on multiple fronts. Number one, we need to ensure that these climate models, they provide a relevant and accurate picture. Second thing is that on food security front, what is happening? The country, particularly when we talk about 2023, we are observing is that it as the international year for millets, and in this particular year we are especially focusing on millets which are called as Shri Anna. Now millets are the crops which are called as climate smart crops. They don't need a lot of water, they also have high nutritional content, so we are focusing on millets. But this also alone is not going to solve the problem. Apart from that, guys, we need to ensure that how the depleted aquifers, groundwaters that have got depleted, how they can be recharged, how their health can be improved, and other water conservation strategies should also be adopted. Okay, that is about it. Then moving on to next article, how fraternity in India is different from the idea enshrined in the constitution. So basically, guys, when we talk about the fraternity, fraternity means bandhutva. Fraternity means bandhutva. Okay. Fraternity means a sense of brotherhood. Fraternity means a sense of brotherhood. So it is talking about the fraternity. So therefore, this idea will be important for GS paper number 2, polity, political philosophy, political ideologies, etc. Okay, not political ideology specifically, but under political philosophy and polity, will take this article. Now, basically, guys, when we talk about the idea of fraternity, brotherhood, idea of fraternity, now, idea of fraternity has been a very important idea, and since early writings, the idea of fraternity has been talked about. Okay, so fraternity involves the emancipation and empowerment of people despite their variegated different histories. Okay, and since the time of Plato, fine, and in the modern times with the coming of liberal political philosophy, fraternity, liberty, and equality became three most important ideas. Fraternity provides that without bothering about another person's caste, without bothering about another person's religion, other social circumstances, we need to have a sense of a bond. We need to have a sense of connection. We need to have a sense of brotherhood amongst us all. This is the idea of fraternity. Now, guys, when we talk about fraternity in the context of India, so basically, with the emergence of constitutional democracy, three ideas, liberty, equality, and fraternity, became very important. And Dr. B.R. Ambedkar has even said that these three are inseparable, and has compared it with the three ideas of Trinity. Has compared it with the three ideas of Trinity. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar gave so much importance to these three ideas. Okay. Now, guys, when we talk about fraternity largely got a lot of impetus during the medieval ages, though ancient philosophers have talked about fraternity. But in Middle Ages, what happened? Fraternity flourished largely through the religion. How fraternity flourished through the religion? It was provided that, see, God has created all men equally, and as God has created all men equally, there is no reason to segregate people. There is no difference to discriminate, to not to treat other humans nicely. There is no reason for that, because all are the creatures, all are the beings of human. So out of religion, fraternity's idea became flourished. Fine, that is something that happened. However, guys, as we moved on in 1789 with the French Revolution, idea of liberty, equality, and fraternity again became modern important in the modern times. Now, guys, when we talk about fraternity in the context of India, how fraternity in the context of India is different. Even this particular question can be asked in your society and social justice. So let's talk about that. Now, guys, when we talk about fraternity in India, okay, so basically In India, people tend to have fraternal relations only with those people who are similar to them. Now understand this thing, that in India there are large parameters on which people divide each other. For example, division is there on the basis of religion, then division is there on the basis of caste, division is there on economic status. Now fraternity includes brotherhood, but we want to treat those people as brothers with whom we have some shared past, which we with which whom we have some shared past. And that shared past need to be a amicable past, it needs to be a good past, not a hostile past, not a hostile past. But guys, when we talk about in India there is the caste hierarchy that exists, and in the caste hierarchy there is a history that there is a lot of discrimination of lower caste that has been done by the upper caste. So history is not amicable, history is of hostilities. So how they will have fraternity amongst them? They will not have. And if they will not have, entire idea of fraternity is defeated. Now when we talk about John Rawls in his theory of justice provides that there is a need of maintaining certain equality in order to realize political fraternity. Now see this particular thing, that if people don't see themselves as equal, they can never come together and can have a fraternity. If people see themselves like this, fraternity, brotherhood, belongingness, equality is brotherhood cannot come. So equality is very important parameter for fraternity. But when we talk about India, in India people are divided in varying social groups, there are structural hierarchies, and caste is a very big hierarchy. And because of that particular caste hierarchy, people across the caste, they are not ready to accommodate each other, and therefore fraternity gets impacted. Okay, so basically the idea provides this particular. Now here there is a one very important idea that is there. One very important idea that is there. See, if we want to work on fraternity, first we need to bring equality. If we don't bring equality and we try to introduce fraternity, then fraternity will become something else. What something else it will become? See, in India, there are social inequalities that are there, and people are divided amongst different groups. You don't bring equality, you keep them that okay they are different, okay, and they are not equal. What will happen when you introduce fraternity? Fraternity will be like this. In this group there will be fraternity, then let's say in this group there will be fraternity, in this group there will be fraternity, within the group there is a fraternity, but there will be no fraternity across the group, but there will be no fraternity across the group. Okay, and the people of different group, they will be seen as enemies, they will be seen as enemies. So fraternity will not mean anything if it glosses over social inequality. Okay, then what will happen? Social solidarity within the group will be there, but other group, they will be seen as outsiders, they will be seen as outsiders. Moreover guys, today we see this particular thing, that in India there is nationalism, which has become quite a popular phenomena nowadays, and here it castigates a homegrown religious minority as an enemy. Okay, so such kind of a things are becoming an obstruction to the idea of fraternity in the context of India, and we need to solve these particular things. Okay, then moving on to next article. Drop the bad idea of simultaneous election. Now guys, um, we have been discussing this idea, I think almost every day in past 1 week. So simultaneous election, this article we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 2, GS paper number 2, polity and governance. So basically, guys, Prime Minister has made the call for simultaneous election, which means that election for Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies need to be conducted at the same time. When Constitution of India was invoked in when the Constitution of India was invoked, and when first election were held in 1951-52, at that time parliamentary and state legislative assembly elections were held together. But after that, that cycle got disturbed in 1960s because states presidential rule was abolished, presidential rule was imposed in the states, then government in certain states fell. Okay, no confidence motions were introduced. So therefore what has happened, that cycle got disturbed, and now every year some or the other state are going on election. So there is a kind of a discussion that we need to bring simultaneous election. Now recently government has constituted a committee under the former president Mr. Ramnath Singh Kovind, who is going to take up that feasibility of simultaneous elections. Now, what is the argument that is being given for simultaneous election? It is that it will save cost. Cost of conducting elections will be saved. Okay. Second, it says that it will free up the political parties who are in permanent campaign mode. Now, basically, guys, it has been provided by the critics that actual financial savings are going to be minuscule. Actual financial savings are going to be minuscule. Secondly, they say this particular thing that the parties are also always in election mode. Only national party, two parties, BJP and Congress, they are in the always election mode. And it has been said that why they have to participate in elections anyhow. Now here it has been said that it is a very recent trend that central government ministers and central level politicians are spending so much time in campaigning in state election. It has been provided that the state elections should primarily be fought by the state party units. National politicians should not get involved too much into the state government on local issues by the state party units. Fine. For example, BJP will have a state party unit in every state. So state party units should participate in election. Why national leaders are getting involved into the state assembly election? They should not get involved. Okay. So point is that okay, if elections are, let's say, they're in Karnataka, only Karnataka state party units are involved. Why the government at Delhi has to get involved there? Then further it has been said, guys, that okay, even if we want to implement it, it is going to be a very big problem. First problem, if you remember, yesterday I have shown you one data point article also, where they say that if you want to, let's say, in 2024 Lok Sabha elections are coming, and if you want to conduct the simultaneous election, then the tenure of many of the assemblies have to be cut short. For example, many assemblies, their tenure is ending in 2028. You need to cut down their tenure to 2024. Okay, then only you can conduct the elections. Fine. This is going to be a very difficult task. Second thing is that, guys, even if you start the simultaneous election, how you will ensure that this process is continued? If government falls in one or two states, this entire cycle will break down. Now, there are only two ways to ensure this particular cycle. Number one, if government falls in any state, impose a president rule and keep that state under president rule. Now, and second rule is that conduct the election, but the term of the new assembly will only be until the next cycle. Now, both of these particular ideas goes against federalism. First, imposing president rule and continuing a state under president rule for 2-3 years. And now we know that under president rule, central government gets a direct intervention in the state government. So these things goes against the idea of federalism. Fine. Moreover, it has also been provided that it will actually bring more instability in Indian politics. Okay. Fine. So therefore, it has been provided that basically it has been provided that rather than just justifying this idea on the basis of the financial cost, we need to consider it more intelligently. And regular elections are not bad. At least governments are reaching to the people and taking their grievances in account. So that is something that has been provided. Then moving on, guys, spotlighting another border point, the ROG channel. Now, this particular article contains just one particular mapping entry. Apart from that, nothing much important is there in this article. So, guys, recently, the Union Home Minister has visited the Harami Nala. Now, what is this Harami Nala? Harami Nala means the ROG channel. Now, Harami Nala, it is a water body here. In the Sar Creek area of Kutch, Gujarat, along the India-Pakistan international border. Now, guys, when we talk about the border between India and Pakistan, we largely consider that Jammu and Kashmir is the one which is disputed border. But here, this particular region, Sar Creek area, and this particular region where the international boundary between India and Pakistan runs, here also there are a lot of disputes. Okay, this is the Sar Creek dispute. And here we have this Harami Nala. Now, Harami Nala, it is a very inhospitable place. Okay, and it has also been a place for the cross-border mischief, and infiltrators in India have also entered through this particular region. Now, when we talk about Harami Nala, it is a natural water body and it flows from west to east. Harami Nala. It flows from west to east. It flows from west to east. And this particular area is marked by marshy mud flats, and it is largely impacted by the high tides. Okay. Now, guys, when we talk about this particular region, the tidal water from Pakistan side comes over towards the Indian side, fine, towards the Indian side. And on Pakistan side, they have also established a Chini Bandh, that is a dam made by the Chinese assistance. Now, over the years, the capabilities of the BSF to patrol around the Harami Nala has been increased. It is because of the procurement of the all-terrain vehicles. Okay. So largely these are the points about the Harami Nala which are there, which you need to know, because recently the Home Minister has made a visit at Harami Nala. That is all about it. Beyond that, guys, nothing is there in this article. Moving on, India urges Sri Lanka government to keep its promise on the Tamil issue. Okay, so guys, when we talk about Sri Lanka, there was a civil war that went in Sri Lanka from 1983 to 2009. In this civil war, the organizations such as the Liberation Tamil Tigers LM and Sri Lankan government, they were involved. And during this civil war that was going on in Sri Lanka, it is said that a lot of atrocities, human right violations have happened on people. Moreover, it is also said that Sri Lanka has not worked really hard in protecting the human rights of the Tamil Sri Lankans, in order to preserve the rights of Tamil Sri Lankans. And for that particular thing, in the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, under the United Nations, there are the investigations that are going on against Sri Lanka. Okay. And recently, what has happened? Latest report of the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights on promoting reconciliation, accountability, and human rights in Sri Lanka, it was released. Now, as human right violation issue is being investigated in Sri Lanka, fine, India has provided this particular thing, that the progress that has been made by Sri Lanka to fulfill the Tamil aspirations, this progress was inadequate. Now, this is, guys, just the statement that has been made by India, that the progress is inadequate. Now, question comes that why progress is inadequate. So basically, what happened, the Sri Lanka has provided that they will be coming out with the 13th Constitutional Amendment Act. What 13th Constitutional Amendment Act? It will be done to the Sri Lankan Constitution. And Tamilian people, they will be given more representation. They will be given more autonomy. Okay. There will be the provincial bodies that will be made for the Tamilians. Okay. Fine. But up till now, that has not happened. So because Sri Lanka has not up till now implemented the 13th Constitutional Amendment Act, Sri Lanka is not very much serious for working on the human rights. It is not very much serious to fulfill the Tamil aspiration, and therefore it is inadequate. So this is something that India has said at the UN Human Rights Council meeting in Geneva. This is something. Now, no need to, guys, track this entire article. Just when we talk about the relations between two countries, there are convergences and there are the irritant. So this is irritant between India-Sri Lanka relations. Okay, that is about it. Then moving to the mains practice question for today. So question reads that fraternity does not mean anything if it glosses over social inequalities and then invokes social solidarity. We have discussed this point especially. So please write a question. It will be a GS paper number 2, 10 marker question. Okay. This is, guys, all about it. And with this, we come to an end to the today's session. I hope, guys, that you have liked it. If you have liked the video, please do hit the like button. Please do leave a lovely comment, because it helps us, because it helps our channel to grow. Thank you so much. Now we'll be meeting tomorrow.